What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel where only time is murder here. Come kill time, not people. Also, don't forget that animals are people too, so treat them with respect. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. Don't forget to click that notification bell. That way you get notified every time we upload new content on this channel. Also, don't forget to comment and share. So today we got a very special interview with an ex-cartel hitman who was deployed and is now in Mexico. He was only 16 years old when he joined the Mexican army. 3 months later, he deserted and was shot 3 times. Later, when he was 19 years old, he was sentenced to 3 years in the Mexican prison for the possession of a firearm. In prison, he was forcefully recruited by the cartel as a hitman. Later on, during his lifetime, he would end up getting shot a few more times and doing a couple prison bits. In the year 2006, he was arrested basically for being an illegal alien and lost his wife and 4 kids. Today, he's a 50-year-old deported, divorced, ex-convict. So if anybody out there want to help him out, he has very serious health complications due to stab wounds and gunshots. So we're going to leave his information down in the description below. And shout out to PNG News and prison channel Paisa for collaborating with us
and making this interview possible.
What's up, YouTube? PNG Media News, back at you with another edition of the Concrete and Steel Chronicles. Today I got a really special interview. I have a gentleman who was just recently released from doing time in the federal prison system, and now he's back in Mexico. He's going to tell us all about running with the Paisa car in the federal prison. Now, in this interview, I won't be using his real name. I'm just going to refer to him as El Paisa, for obvious reasons. So, Paisa, so tell me, how many years did you spend in the federal prison?
¿Cuántos años?
Sí.
15 años.
He said 15 years.
Can you give me a little bit of background about what led you to be winding up in the federal prison system?
Por entrar ilegal al país y por drogas.
He said for drugs and for entering illegally to the United States.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. Okay. So when you first get into, I guess, like even before you get to the reception center, like when you're at the part, before you actually get sentenced while you're still going through trial, I guess the federal lockup, the word I'm looking for. So can you tell me about the dynamics there? Were Paisas were they around in the in the federal lockup before you get to the actual federal prison? Was there a Paisa presence there? And if so, like how did they function? Was it like the dynamics the same as it is in the pen?
¿Quieres saber nomás que si hay paisas ahí cuando primero llegas como en el transfer?
Sí, sí hay países porque ahí en el sistema en Oklahoma, ahí te califican y te preguntan con quién corres y ya tú les dices que paisas y te mandan a una prisión donde haya paisas para que no tengas problemas.
Yeah, he said they classify you when you get to the federal prison transfer in Oklahoma, and they ask you who you run with, and that way they can put you with your people.
So now, okay, so you go through your trial and all that type of stuff, and you get sentenced, and you're on your way to the actual Fed joint. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, now I understand that there's like 3 levels of federal prison. There's like the U.S. Penitentiary, the FCI, and the FCI camps. Which one did you land into first?
Depende de los puntos que tengas, es como te califican. Entre más felonías tengas, vas a una prisión más alta. Entre más felonías tengas, puedes ir a una USP, a una median o una low. Depende de los puntos, las felonías que has cometido en tu vida.
Yeah, he just said depends like on your felony grade and they'll put you like a USP is the highest and stuff like that. FCI is the lowest, and I think a FCI camp is the lowest is where you come in.
All right. Okay. So when you kind of walk us through when you first get there, like when you first hit the yard or the dorm wherever you're staying at. How does the dynamic go? Are you immediately approached and asked who you run with or anything like that? And do you declare yourself a Paisa, or is that just something that's automatically like, okay, you're not running with the gang, so you automatically Paisa? How does that whole thing work?
Que si eres automáticamente Paisa o si ellos te acercan.
Sí, cuando llegas a una prisión, luego se te acercan a preguntarte con quién corres. Entonces, pues tú les tienes que decir que corres Paisa para que te puedan dejar caminar
Sí,
y
well.
ya te unen al grupo.
Yeah, he just said that as soon as you come in, they ask you where you're from, what you claim, and I mean that way you can walk the yard and see if your people are there. If your people are there, you can walk the yard.
Okay, so now, all right, so you get in and you get cooked up with the Paisas, and kind of tell me a little bit about how your car functions. I mean, is there like an identified shot caller, or is it more of a situation where it's a collective where everybody has a voice and there's no one person over the other? How does the Paisa car function? Like in terms of when it's time to make a decision, it's time to like attack another car. Who makes that call?
Es tiempo de irse a la guerra contra otra pandilla. ¿Quién decide, el vocero o por decisión unánime? Tiene de la mayoría de votos. Sí.
Yeah, he said that it's by votes. People vote, and
Everybody
everybody votes. It's not just one person. They make a meeting and they vote.
Sí, porque es una rayeta, es algo grande.
Yeah, he said that it's gonna be a right, so everybody has to be okay on board.
Okay, so now I've heard different things about the Paisas. Like I heard like the Paisas in the federal prison, like if you come in, like say you came in from Texas and you was running with the Tangos, the Paisas don't allow them on the yard. And I heard other places, the Tangos, they do their thing. They do have a strong presence on the yard. In the time that you've done, what was your experience? Have you ever seen Tangos? And if so, how did they function with the Paisas? Were they enemies? Were they allies? Or how did that whole thing work?
Que si cuando estuviste preso viste tangos como los que vienen de Texas, que
Sí.
ellos sí que sí son aliados, enemigos, como los paisas los ven, en tu opinión.
Bueno, mira, los paisas, casi los tangos están unidos a los paisas porque en las cárceles, en las prisiones federales, la mayoría de la gente somos paisas. Es es uno de los carros más grandes.
Okay.
Entonces, los sureños, los tangos de otras pandillas corren con uno, bajo el ala, como le dicen.
Yeah, he said that in most joints, federal either lows or most federal prisons, paisas are the biggest number. So they'll just let whoever wants to run under their wing or just run allied to them. Most of the time they'll let them. You know.
Of course, being a Paisa, of course, you're Mexican, and there's other Mexican gangs. For example, you got Tangos, Sureños, MANF. How did the Paisas fit in that whole scheme of things with other Hispanic gangs? Like for example, you and the Paisas and the Sureños, did you all consider Sureños enemies, or you consider them allies, or is it kind of like you don't bother us, we don't bother you?
Es la misma pregunta que hay cuenta que
Sí, cada quien tiene sus reglas, los sureños, los tangos, los paisas. Estamos unidos pero no revueltos.
yeah, he said everybody has their own rules. They're together, but they're not really riding together.
Y cada quien tiene sus reglas.
And each car has its own rules.
Pero casi a la hora de una guerra nos unimos.
Car meaning gang. Whenever they go to like a racial war, they all get united.
Hablan los representantes, los jefes, y nos unimos contra la guerra.
If the people talk to the speakers, and then the speakers talk to the different cars, and they'll get together and como si se van a poner de acuerdo, they're gonna
Sí, una junta.
Yeah, they're gonna make a meeting, and so that they can go to war to make a right.
Okay, so now from my understanding, there's a lot of racial dynamics. Like race plays a big part in a lot of federal prisons, especially on the West Coast, because a lot of the West Coast Fed joints, from my understanding, have a lot of guys from Cali, and they brought all those racial dynamics. So with that being said, say for example, if the Sureños get into it with say the blacks, the Bloods or Crips or however, what role would the Paisas play? Would they allow with the Sureños, or would they just be like, hey, that's between you and them? We don't have anything to do with that.
Sí, las dinámicas de cómo se dividen entre razas, como por ejemplo en California dice que se juntan los mexicanos y se juntan cada raza con su raza, y en otras prisiones acá como por Nueva York, que según es más acá más abierto, quiere saber qué rollo ahí. O sea, si los sureños van a irse a guerra con los negros.
Sí,
Sí.
piden ayuda.
Yeah, if the Southsiders want to go to war with the blacks or something, they'll ask Paisas, or they'll try to get Paisas to go ride with them.
Es donde te digo que hablan con los jefes de los países.
That's when they
Y
talk
se
up
unen
to the
a
speakers,
pelear ahí la guerra.
and they get together to speak on war.
Now, were there ever times, as you know, during your time, of course, I'm sure at some point you got transferred, from one fair joint to the next. Now, did you ever notice like a differing of the politics? Like, say, for example, if you went from a West Coast fair joint to maybe one in the East Coast or the Midwest, did the politics change within the prison itself, like the prison system itself? Was it less racial in some places than others? And if so, like how did the Paisas, the dynamic change within the Paisa car?
Sí, que algunas diferencias, que si noté algunas diferencias.
Okay. La que sigue, ¿no?
No, porque son las mismas.
Yeah.
Los paisas son los mismos aquí en China.
Yeah. He said Paisas, they run the same everywhere, every prison they
Donde
run
sea,
the same.
en el sur, en el norte.
South, north, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now let me ask you this. So when you're in the fair joint, I guess. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the Paisa car. Are there like specific rules? Like, say, for example, if it's getting ready to go down in the yard, you're thinking, okay, Monday morning, we think it's going to be beef with another car. Are you, as a Paisa, are you obligated to be on the yard that day? Or, tell me more about the establishment of the rules in the Paisa car.
Si las paisas se ponen de acuerdo de que un lunes en la yarda se van a ir recio contra otra banda, ¿estás obligado a salir a la yarda? Sí.
They are obligated to go to the yard. Yeah, if they have to be outside, they always have to be ready, waiting for your, you have to be with your race. Yeah.
Then in your experience in federal prison, what's the most overarching factor as to how inmates click up? Is it your gang? Is it by gang? Is it by race? Or is it by like city, state?
By race, he said mostly by race and by gang. Number one is race and second is gang.
And what takes precedence first? One's gang affiliation that they came in with, or their prison gang affiliation? So say, for example, like you being Mexican, say at some point you joined the Norista Familia or La M. So who would you be obligated to more so? Your prison gang like MA, or would you be still more so obligated to be in a Paisa? How would that whole dynamic work?
Una vez que te haces de una clica, tienes que ser siempre de esa clica.
He said, nah, whenever you join one of those blood in, blood out organizations, you have to be there for life.
Paisa, Mexican, mafia.
Just your observation, what, like, how did you see other cars? Like you being a Paisa, and of course, you know your enemies, you know your allies. Like, how did you view other groups like the Serenos, the Norteños, the MA, Bloods, Crips? Like, how did you see those groups? Did you see them as formidable enemies, worthy allies? What was your whole thoughts on those different cars?
Todas las otras organizaciones mexicanas, ¿cuál es tu opinión?
What was your whole thoughts on those different cars?
Yeah, he kind of already said that. He said everybody rides with their race, and that's what's important.
As a Paisa,
okay.
Are you always obligated to run Paisa? Like, for example, say, you come in as a Paisa, but at some point, as you travel through the different fair joints and you want to get clicked up with the Texas Syndicate or, just another Hispanic gang. Are you allowed to do that? Would there be an issue if you just started running with someone else outside of Paisa? How would that whole thing work?
Sí, quieres saber que si te eres Paisa y luego te metes con una ranfla, ¿cómo funciona eso ahí?
No, pues no puedes porque ya eres y que quieres. Si te quieres de baja te tumban.
Yeah, they'll PC you out. That's not allowed. Once you join a car, you have to ride with that car for the rest of your time. That's how it is.
Let's switch gears a little bit and just talk about, okay, so you leave federal prison then they send you back to Mexico. So what's the future hope for you? Like, what are some of your plans on what you'd like to do now that you're back out in the free world?
Y nomás se pregunta que ahora cómo te sientes que te deportaron y la chingada. Que, o sea, que no sé, que ya como que qué planes.
Well, Paisa, I want to get some clothes.
Y luego ya, es la última y luego dice,
O en México, pues ahorita estoy aquí tranquilo trabajando.
si quieres como, sí.
Estoy en un taxi, traigo un taxi y
He said he's working right now. He said he's driving a taxi and he's doing the best he can.
estoy tratando de llevarme las cosas más calmado, no vender drogas.
Yeah, he said he's trying to calm down and take it easy, you know.
Hacer las cosas más derecho para no meterme en problemas.
Do not do any dirty work, and that way he won't get any problems.
Para no volver a las prisiones.
To not ever go back to any prison.
You know, to come on my platform and share your story with me. I really enjoyed this, and it's been quite informative. You know, I wish you, the best of luck in everything that you do. You know, in closing, would you like to give a shout out to anybody?
Manda saludos o algo así. Como te agradece por el tiempo, el video.
I wish you, the best of luck in everything that you
Te desea suerte, dice.
Yo también le deseo.
He said he wishes. He said he wishes good luck
También le deseo suerte
for you
y que tenga éxito en sus programas.
and make your channel grow.
Y cualquier cosa que quieras saber, nomás que te diga y hablamos con él.
Yeah. He said anything else you want to know, just hit us up.
Dile que también hemos trabajado con los carteles para que si quieres saber algo de los carteles y todo eso.
He said he got more stories.
Yes.
He used to work for the cartel. If you want to know more about that, we could also let
Yo he
you know.
trabajado antes ahí.
He's worked there before.
Okay, there you have it, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Concrete and Steel Chronicles. I'll see you in the next one. PNG Media News out.